What if I told you that the world you live in is not the one your conscious mind chose, but the one your subconscious accepted? You see, beneath every thought, beneath every intention, beneath every whispered affirmation or desperate prayer, there is a deeper voice. One you do not hear, but that speaks with the authority of law. It does not negotiate. It does not dream. It simply delivers exactly what it believes to be true. We are taught that we shape our lives with our thoughts, but thoughts are just the surface ripples. The true current flows deeper, through the mind, beneath the mind. The subconscious is not just a mental repository. It is an energetic blueprint, a silent architect, a field of memory and emotion so ancient that most of its code was written before you ever spoke your name. And yet this code is not fixed. It can be revealed, rewritten, reprogrammed, not by force, but by awareness. This is not a lesson in positive thinking. This is a descent into the source of creation itself, where psychology meets quantum physics, where emotion meets electricity, where your hidden beliefs become the blueprint for your future. Because if you want to change your reality, you must stop speaking to the universe with your words and start listening to what you're whispering to it in silence. You do not command the subconscious. You do not even ask it. You become it, and it becomes your world. The subconscious mind is not a part of you. It is the pattern that is you until you choose otherwise. Not a drawer of forgotten memories, not a background process humming quietly in your brain, but a living, electromagnetic field of belief, emotion, and identity. It is the quiet sculptor behind every outcome you call fate. Science tells us that the subconscious governs over 95% of your behavior, but numbers cannot express what this really means. It means that most of what you call yourself was not chosen. It was absorbed, conditioned, encoded. The subconscious is formed in a state of openness, in early childhood, in trauma, in repetition, in dream. It learns not through logic, but through frequency. Whatever you feel repeatedly, deeply, emotionally, becomes truth to it. Whatever environment surrounds you, whatever energy you are immersed in, becomes its baseline. It listens not to what you want, but to what you expect. Not to what you say, but to what you believe, without question, without words, without awareness. In this way, it becomes the invisible architect of reality. Because what the subconscious accepts as true is what the nervous system reinforces, what the brain filters for, what your energy field projects into the world. You are not seeing life as it is. You are seeing life as your subconscious permits it to be. And so the world arranges itself to echo back what this silent sculptor has carved inside of you. You meet the same kinds of people. You repeat the same stories with different names. You attract the same wounds dressed in new disguises. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the subconscious is consistent. It does not care about happiness. It cares about familiarity. It recreates what it knows because what it knows feels safe, even if it hurts. And in this patterning lies both the trap and the key. Because if your subconscious can generate limitation without your consent, it can also generate liberation with your awareness. But not through willpower, not through force. The subconscious does not respond to demands. It responds to resonance, to energy, to felt experience repeated enough to replace the old with the new. It is like a field of wet clay, molded not by thought but by frequency. Each belief you carry has a weight, a shape, a tone, and the clay remembers. So if you walk through life believing you are unworthy, your subconscious will sculpt the world to match that belief. Not as punishment, but as confirmation. It is a mirror, not a judge. But if you walk through life grounded in the frequency of wholeness, if your inner world is saturated with trust, coherence, and presence, then the sculptor reshapes its form, and the mirror begins to reflect a new reality. The subconscious is the code running the simulation, and though it is buried in silence, it is listening to every repetition, to every emotionally charged event, to every image you hold when no one is watching. And this is why your reality doesn't shift when you speak different words, but feel the same wounds. Why nothing changes when your affirmations contradict your beliefs, because the sculptor is still carving the same shapes beneath the surface. To change your life, you must change what the sculptor believes to be real. Not with effort, but with energy, with presence, with truth. Because beneath the surface of your mind is a field that remembers everything, but is willing to become something new. All it needs is a new impression. Every belief begins as a whisper, a moment, a glance, a tone of voice so subtle it slips beneath thought and anchors itself in the soil of the subconscious. This is how the story begins, not with conscious decisions, but with energetic imprints absorbed when the mind is still soft, when the nervous system is a sponge and the soul is wide open. From the moment of birth, perhaps even before, you begin recording reality without filters. A parent's silence becomes shame. A teacher's disapproval becomes inadequacy. A moment of fear becomes "I'm not safe here." And the subconscious doesn't ask questions. It simply feels and then files. In these early years, especially before the age of 7, your brain operates primarily in theta waves. This is a hypnotic state, deeply receptive, the same state accessed in meditation and trance. It is here that the subconscious forms its foundation, not through logic, not through words, but through emotionally charged experience. And once that code is laid down, you live not from the present moment, but from memory disguised as personality. A child told once that they're not good enough may grow into an adult who overachieves, who people pleases, who fears stillness because stillness might mean rejection. Not because they remember the moment, but because the energy of that moment never left. These echoes of origin are not memories in the traditional sense. They are vibrational signatures, resonant truths that the subconscious has accepted as law. They become the filters through which you perceive the world, the templates you unknowingly project onto every relationship, every decision, every opportunity. This is not fate. This is repetition masquerading as reality. You might think you're making choices, but often the choice was made long ago, in a moment when you didn't have the tools to choose differently. This is the nature of subconscious programming. It's not just in your head, it's in your field, in the body, in the emotions, in the very electromagnetic signature you emit without realizing. And because like attracts like, those early emotional imprints become magnets, drawing to you people and circumstances that confirm what you already believe. You expect abandonment? You'll be drawn to those who leave. You feel unworthy? You'll sabotage the love that arrives. You were told to stay small? You'll shrink every time expansion beckons. Not because you're broken, but because the subconscious is brilliant at staying consistent with its past. This is why healing is not simply about insight. It is about energy recognition, locating the original echo, the first vibration that wrote the code. Because until you feel it, until you become aware of the moment that wrote your script, you will live as an actor in someone else's play. Your mind will call it reality, but your soul will feel the mismatch. This is the dissonance so many carry. A conscious desire for abundance, love, freedom, but a subconscious foundation rooted in lack, rejection, fear. And the field listens to the louder frequency, always. But here's the miracle. The subconscious may be powerful, but it is not fixed. It can be revised, reimagined, not by erasing the past, but by bringing light to the moments where darkness became definition. To remember that you were not born unworthy, you were not born broken, you were born whole, and then taught otherwise. And what was learned can be unlearned. You are not the beliefs you inherited, you are the awareness that can rewrite them. All it takes is the courage to turn inward, to sit with the echoes of origin, not to judge them, but to witness them. Because the moment you do, you shift from being the echo to being the voice that creates the new sound. You believe you are choosing, but what if the choice was already made? You reach for a goal. You walk away from love, You doubt the opportunity, sabotage the success, abandon the dream, and you call it reason. But beneath reason, a program was running, and the program decided first. This is the paradox of human freedom. We are conscious beings with the power to choose, but most of our choices are made subconsciously before thought even begins. Neuroscience confirms it. Brain scans show that the body begins acting on a decision before the conscious mind becomes aware of it. Milliseconds before you choose, a signal has already fired. The subconscious has spoken. But science only hints at what the mystics have always known. The surface of the self is not the author of your life. It is the face. The pen is held deeper, in the emotional body, the energy field, the subconscious script. You are not living from the now. You are living from the moment the program began. The pain you avoid, it once kept you safe. The pattern you repeat, it once brought love, or at least its illusion. The doubt, the fear, the mistrust, they all began as protection. But protection becomes prison when you forget you're no longer the child who needed it. And so you walk through life wearing armor you no longer require, fighting battles that ended long ago, chained to identities formed in survival. The subconscious is not malicious. It is loyal to whatever it learned you needed, even if it now keeps you small. This is where free will falters, not because it doesn't exist, but because it cannot function fully while you are unaware of the code you're operating on. Until you become conscious of the program, you will confuse reaction with choice. You will believe you are deciding, but you're only repeating. The same fears, the same relationships, the same emotional weather, played out across different landscapes. And this is why transformation does not begin with action. It begins with awareness. Because the moment you see the pattern, you are no longer inside it. You are the witness, the observer, the one with the power to interrupt the loop and write a new line of code. But this takes radical honesty. It takes the courage to admit that much of what you've called personality is actually a collection of conditioned responses. That much of what you've blamed on circumstance was actually a subconscious selection, choosing the people, places, and paths that would confirm your inner world. And this truth can be painful. Because if it was your programming that created limitation, then no one is coming to save you. But this is also your liberation, because if it was your programming, then it is also your power. And the power to reprogram begins not with effort, but with recognition. To pause before the reaction, to question the familiar urge, to feel the emotion without obeying it, to ask, who is really making this choice? Me or my memory? This question cracks open the illusion. It allows space for the real you to emerge, the one beneath the scripts, the one who remembers that consciousness was always the author. The subconscious may run the show, but it is not the director, not once you wake up. So yes, you have free will, but only once you become the one who sees the wires. There is no private thought, no hidden fear, no silent belief that does not echo into the universe. The subconscious may dwell in the shadow of awareness, but its language is loud, not in words, but in frequency. And the field is always listening. Call it the quantum field, the divine matrix, the unified field, whatever name you choose, it is the substrate of reality, the invisible sea from which all form arises. It does not judge, it does not favor, it does not wait for you to feel ready. It simply reflects. Like a tuning fork placed in still air, it vibrates in resonance with whatever signal you emit. Not the signal of your conscious desires, but the coherent signal of your subconscious state. This is why your life responds not to what you want, but to what you are. Not to your thoughts, but to your frequency. And your frequency is not determined by logic, but by emotion, memory, belief. Your subconscious is an energetic broadcaster, sending out a signal into the quantum field 24 hours a day. That signal is built from the sum total of your inner world, your expectations, your fears, your baseline emotional state. And like attracts like. This is not just spiritual metaphor, this is quantum law. In quantum physics, we learn that particles do not exist in fixed locations. They exist as probabilities, waves of potential, until observed. The act of observation collapses the wave into form. And what is observation? It is focused awareness, attention infused with belief. But here's the key most overlooked. It's not only your conscious observation that collapses potential, it is your entire field of expectation, most of which is shaped by the subconscious. So while your conscious mind dreams of abundance, if your subconscious is saturated with scarcity, the field collapses into scarcity. Not because you are undeserving, but because the field is obedient. It is a mirror, a servant, a perfect listener, and your subconscious is the speaker. This is why affirmations without belief fall flat, why vision boards fade, why effort without alignment leads to burnout, because energy is primary, words are secondary. And the field does not receive your intentions, it receives your vibration. This is also why trauma repeats, because trauma imprints a frequency so deeply into the subconscious that it becomes the default broadcast. And the field, without judgment, echoes it back again and again until it is seen, felt, healed. But here lies the beauty. The field does not only respond to pain, it responds to clarity, to gratitude, to trust, to joy, to coherence. And when your inner world becomes energetically aligned with possibility, the field begins to shape new outcomes, not slowly, not randomly, but precisely. Because coherence is magnetic, belief is a broadcast, and the field is always tuning in. So you are not waiting for the universe to decide. The universe is waiting for you to remember what you are transmitting. You are not a beggar at the gates of reality, you are its author, and the subconscious is your pen. To write a new story, you must change the ink, change the signal, not with thoughts, but with truth. Because the field cannot be tricked. It responds not to what you pretend to feel, but to what you truly embody. And when you begin to embody the new code, the field begins to shape the new world, not as reward, but as reflection. Because you are not living in a universe of reaction. You are living in a mirror of mind and matter, dancing as one. And the moment you change your signal, the dance changes. The program is not your prison, it is your platform. And the moment you remember this, you awaken the one who can rewrite the code. The subconscious is not your enemy, it is your student. It listens to what you teach through repetition, emotion, and focus. And when consciousness returns to the classroom, transformation begins. This is where everything changes. Because until now, your life has been sculpted by forgotten impressions, emotional residue, ancestral echoes, a silent inheritance passed down through generations, experiences, wounds. But there is a greater force within you, the one who watches, the one who sees the pattern and knows, I am not the pattern, I am the presence behind it. This presence is consciousness, not a thought, not an identity, but the light of awareness itself. And when you bring that light to the darkness of the subconscious, you initiate a sacred reversal, from being created by the program to becoming its creator. This is not a technique. This is a remembering. Because awareness, pure, unfiltered, embodied, is the only energy powerful enough to rewrite what was once etched in fear. When you observe a belief without resistance, you begin to dissolve its hold. When you feel a pattern arise and choose not to obey it, you weaken the neural loop. When you hold space for your own triggers, you disrupt the cycle that kept you looping through the past. And with every act of conscious witnessing, you rewire the field, not just neurologically, but vibrationally. The subconscious does not speak English, it speaks experience. It learns through what is felt, repeated, and emotionally charged. So to reprogram it, you don't need louder affirmations. You need real resonance, states of being that are practiced and embodied until they become the new baseline. Not just I am worthy, but breathing, walking, moving as one who knows it. Not just I am safe, but softening the body, relaxing the breath, anchoring the nervous system in peace. This is the inner architecture of manifestation. Because when the subconscious accepts a new truth, the field responds with a new form. Not eventually, immediately. The quantum field does not delay, it reflects the dominant frequency. And when coherence replaces chaos in your inner world, reality mirrors that shift. But this requires devotion, not to force, but to presence, to becoming intimate with your own inner weather, to catching yourself in the moment the old story arises, and choosing to breathe a different breath, stand in a different energy, respond from a different place. Each time you do, you forge a new path through the field, and over time, that path becomes the new program, the new default, the new you. You become the architect, not by denying the old blueprint, but by redesigning it, line by line, with clarity, compassion, and conscious choice. This is not about perfection, this is about power. The power to meet yourself not as a machine to be fixed, but as a field to be tuned. The power to look at your life and say, this story no longer fits who I've become, and I am willing to write a new one. That willingness is the turning point. That moment of awareness is the new frequency, and from that frequency, all creation flows. Because once the architect is awake, the blueprint cannot remain the same. You were never broken, only encoded. You were never powerless, only programmed. And now, with eyes open and breath steady, you stand at the threshold, not of destiny, but of design. Because the subconscious is not a cage. It is clay, soft, responsive, waiting for the warmth of awareness to shape it. Your beliefs are not shackles. They are echoes of who you once had to be. But the echo fades when the voice returns, and now that voice is yours. You are no longer the memory repeating itself. You are the pattern interrupt, the witness, the rewrite. You are the sculptor, the signal, the sovereign field. Reality is no longer something that happens to you. It is something that emerges through you, through the emotions you allow, through the stories you release, through the presence you embody. So walk forward not as one who hopes, but as one who knows that the field listens, knows that the code bends, knows that consciousness creates. Because when the subconscious becomes coherent, the universe becomes clear. And in that clarity, there is no more waiting, no more searching, only creating. You are not the program, you are the programmer, and the code is listening.